Well, a very, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the virtual recreation of Silverstone GP circuits for round number 3 of the SMRC eSports iRacing Championship. What a treat we have had so far this season, and joining me tonight, as always this season, is none other than the one, the only, Mr. Alex Goldschmidt. Alex, good evening, sir.
Good evening, David. Good evening to all Scottish Motor Racing Club fans. Welcome to the home of British motorsport that hosted the very first Formula One Grand Prix back in 1950. And also, a little bit of interesting information. It was the first ever time that both myself and Mr. David Christie actually met at an official race meeting. The District Go Parts Distribution Citroen C1 24 Hours, where he was racing. He got collared by me in the pit lane, as did Mark Werrell, amongst a few others.
I think that's quite a generous use of the word racing, but yeah, it was a fantastic event, and what a weekend! An iconic track for us to return to, albeit, Alex, in the virtual form. Slightly more horsepower on offer tonight than what we saw last time round, but this championship is just bubbling away nicely.
Well, I mean, looking at the standings coming into this, I mean, Fraser Williamson in the 369, doing the double at Spa last time out. He's 20 points ahead of Jack Eyre. Then you've got Sam Corson, amongst other people, Lewis Ward, Rory Bryant, Peter Butcher, Jordan Gronkowski, and Martin Buchan. And that's from 6th to 8th position. They're all tied on 69 points. Andrew Hopley, in the number 25 BMW, a.k.a. Mr. Two Thumbs Fresh. He's down in 9th, ahead of Vic Covey by just a mere point. There's Michael Weddell in the Rethink Racing Porsche 718 Cayman. He's had a few dramas. We did say that about Okayama. Obviously, don't mention to him about race 2. But then we had one on the course, man, Kieran Smart, John Lang, and Sam Spinell. I mean, even though we're so early in the championship, you know, we are on round number 3 out of 8, but we've got a very different proposition here, David. We've got a single 60, a 60-minute race. And that's really going to add a bit of different strategy here, isn't it, Silverstone?
It absolutely is, because obviously up until this point, Alex, we've had just the double 30-minute races, and this is really a test to their strategy, to their concentration, and to their endurance levels as well. So it really is a really nice curveball, if you like. I mean, it's not anything they're not used to, but it does make that start even more important.
It does, because qualifying isn't necessarily going to give us the full picture, because the drivers, as the number 42 gets a bit close, that is coming through Woodcote and through into Luffield. That's Anil Singh from Mist Apex Racing. That was very, very close, as some people will push the limits of adhesion. And we are now into the 15-minute qualifying session. But yeah, I mean, qualifying, as they say, David, okay, it gives you an extra point if you take pole position. But times are for show, points are to go, and the 60 minutes, I think we're going to have a fantastic race here at Silverstone.
Yep, I think exactly the same. So we've got plenty of time to have a catch-up on what has happened so far in the championship. The first man that we have to have a chat about is going to be this man here. Fraser Williamson has been absolutely sensational so far in the championship, currently leading by 20 points over second place of Jack Eyre. And what is it going to take to stop this man, Alex?
I think everyone's going to be praying for a miracle. That's the first thing that's going to really come into the equation, because Williamson has been on the pace, and you can just see how well measured he is going through Woodcote down towards Copse. And then one of the biggest stumbling blocks we've got here, David, is the iconic Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel combination, as we go with Fraser all the way down, and then you go through to the Hanger Straight. It's a very tough test, 3.66 miles. 5.891 kilometres. The current lap record as we go on board with Fraser is actually from Lewis Hamilton last year, who won at 27. But we're going to see in the GT4 cars. Obviously, there's been an iRacing patch for the BMWs, and there was an opportunity afforded to some of the drivers that if they were in cars having a test, and I think they had to get in by the evening this past Tuesday, as if they wanted to swap from, like, so people were looking from swapping from the BMW M4 into the Porsche, and there are some people that have decided to stick with what they've got. So yeah, I think it's got to be about the fact that Williamson has to make sure he's got no mistakes under his belt.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't, and that is the key point, making no mistakes. If Fraser Williamson starts tripping up over himself, let alone with anybody else, as he just puts in a 2-minute 12.61 there, that's the biggest point. That if Williamson cracks under pressure, we could see a very different outcome after Silverstone.
Yep, that is a very, very astute observation there, Alex. So let's go and take a lap then with Fraser Williamson as we see him going round through the loop just now. That's turn 4 that he's at just now, just coming up towards entry turn number 5, and then it is hard on the power down the Wellington Straight underneath that iconic bridge there. And I think that Fraser Williamson has just decided that he is away to go and make a little change to the setup of his car. So we'll have a look elsewhere. In fact, here we go. Adam Brown, just as if I completely planned that, Alex, at exactly the same point on the track there.
I smell something in the air and it's definitely not pleasant.
Adam Brown then.
I'm sorry. I can't say the word, but we know which 2 initials I'm talking about. But
you've been on the Fizzy Cola again, haven't you?
Hey, speak for yourself. But Lewis Ward now jumps up into provisional P1 at 2-minute 12.22. Adam Brown is about 3/10 off. So we're now going down the straightaway here. This is going to be into, I think this is Cops, if memory serves me correctly.
Cops corner is such a difficult corner, Alex, because the car really wants to drift itself out wide, and of course you go too wide and that's your lap invalidated. Yeah,
track limits definitely being policed by the software through iRacing, but also the clerk of the course was very, very busy post Spa, because there were quite a few dramas for a lot of people. But you can just see he's going underneath the bridge here as he's going to head down the Hanger Straight, and now braking into Stowe from around 235 kilometres an hour. And you can just see how much speed that he's just scrubbed off, going through Vale and then into the chicane here at Club, down from around 190 kilometres an hour. It's going to go down to second, and that's around 50 miles an hour. He's coming through this particular part of the circuit as he'll explode through, round through the final corner of Club, across the start-finish line. Let's see if he improves. He does. Goes literally 8/800ths of a second ahead of Andrew Hopley. So the BMW has really come alive. Kieran Smart now up into P10. So the BMWs, I think through that patch that has just been recently provided by iRacing, seems like you're going to see that Hopley and I think Smart are really going to come alive a bit more as Michael Weddle now pops up into 8th position.
Yeah, that's a great point, because obviously one of the big talking points going into round 2 was that balance of performance issue. The BMWs were a new car to this season in iRacing, and with all new cars you're going to have little bits of bugs here and there, and one of the bugs seemed to be that the tyre management just wasn't properly happening there, Alex. So they were overcooking the tyres where really that shouldn't have been happening. That looks to have been fixed now. It looks to have been sorted, and the runoff, the thermal cascade, isn't anywhere near as bad, although I think it's certainly, from the sounds of it, from the feedback from the drivers, it's nerfed the Porsche quite a bit on the tyre management as well.
Yeah, I just think that now it's going to really spice up the ante. And quite an interesting fact about this circuit, obviously we were there in 2019. There's Ian Erasmus in the 808 Porsche Cayman, Porsche 714 Cayman GT4 MR Club Sport, and that is a mouthful. Funnily enough, that's the car that Alex Toth-Jones will be competing in for the forthcoming Porsche Sprint Challenge GB Championship that gets underway this coming weekend. He's just had a livery reveal, and that's looking pretty good as Ian comes through into Copse Corner. But as I was just alluding to, a little bit of history here. I was at Silverstone as a media representative at the Santander British Grand Prix in 2014. If anyone might remember Kimi Raikkonen's massive accident coming out of Aintree as, grass cutting there for Erasmus, it spins the back end out. And that's going to be a quick escape into the pit lane. But yeah, I was here, and when Raikkonen had that massive smash in 2014. So there have been moments. I visited it as a fan. The first time was in 1991 when Senna was battling away with Mansell for the title that year. My first visit on my own, 2009, when good old Jenson Button was running with Braun GP in his title-winning year, and it wasn't him that won there that particular season. Here's Scott Smith looking to get a bit further up the order. He's down in 30th position in qualifying, but he's on an outlap at the moment. As Andrew Hopley's still in the pits at the moment. He's currently P4. But there's a lot of history here at Silverstone, isn't there, David?
Yeah, there certainly is, and it really is a wonderful, wonderful, prestigious track, all the way from... I think what I like about Silverstone is that it shares so much in common with a lot of the circuits down south, Alex, and that they started off life with a very strong military connection, either former air bases or used for military purposes, and they had these great clearings of land that could be then repurposed, and Silverstone is a wonderful, wonderful example of that. But back to on track just now, 10.5 minutes gone in qualifying. Let's have a little look at who we have got at the moment, because Lewis Ward is currently at the top of the timing screen there with, let's have a look there, that is a 2 minutes 12.2. So we'll go and have a little look at that. And I'll just get the times up actually for us just now. There we are, that's better. Right, Lewis Ward then, currently on top with a 2:12.218. He's still in the pit, so I wonder if he thinks he's actually done enough just now. Fraser Williamson is back out to give that a go, as is still Adam Brown. Andrew Hopley is in the pit lane along with John Gronkowski. Ronald Grossman in 6th place, Rory Bryant in 7th, Jack Hare in 8th, Michael Weddle in 9th place, Vic Covey in 10th, John Lang in 11th, Peter Butcher in 12th place, Sam Corson in 13th, Peter Moore in 14th, and David Simon in 15th. We'll give you a full rundown once qualifying is done. Jack Hare jumps up to 2nd place there, 2:12.282. So a great lap there from Jack Hare, and he is definitely in with contention for the championship, Alex.
Yeah, very much the case. I mean, just having a look at some of the, with regards to some of the slightly different parts of the format that we've got here for the first single 60, that there will be an automatic stop-go penalty will be assigned as per regulation 10.b.2. Automatic stop-go penalty will be assigned to each driver for every 26 incident points in single 60 rounds, and this being the first of them. How long do you think, David, before that might be truncated, let's say, that someone meets... it could happen very early on, because, it's not just about the start, it's also what happens through the race, and as people go through the race, they're going to start getting a bit tired, getting a bit dehydrated, and the mental fatigue will start coming in, and then they'll make mistakes, realistically, if I'm completely honest here.
Yeah, we're both no stranger to seeing an hour-long event. We've done it in other events that we've covered, and even myself taking part in. As a driver, absolutely, you get to around about sort of 25 minutes to 30 minutes in, then you start to get into that peak state, Alex. You get into what's called flow, where you go onto autopilot and you can't even remember what you've been doing, and then that's when the mistakes can start to happen, because you're not fully alert, you're not fully concentrating. I don't know if we'll see that just now, because these guys and girls are used to being on track with each other for a significant amount of time. It's whether they can translate that half-hour ability and that half-hour pace that they've got into an hour, because we could see some real humdingers of strategy errors coming up tonight.
Yeah, I think because they've got to serve have they got to serve mandatory pit stops?
They do, yep, because it's an hour. The fuel amount has been restricted, which means that it is indeed a mandatory pit stop. So I would imagine, now the great thing is we can bring up the details of that, and we will find out when that is going to be. Now, 1 minute left in qualifying. I think that is pretty much everyone that is due to be on circuit is out there on track just now.
Looks like we've got Cameron Ritchie in the 27 Porsche. looking to possibly complete a lap, as Richie is currently 25th at the minute. Going into Copse comes the Porsche, just under 40 seconds remaining. And it's nice that you get so much different liveries, and then you get someone like Cameron Ritchie that just goes with I'll just have the Tag Heuer sticker on the back number plate, and the Mobile One on the right, the sides of the bumper.
You'll notice I'm staying very quiet during that, Alex. That's actually because I haven't refreshed the skins yet. So if you give it 2 seconds, you'll see his skin appear in just a couple of minutes' time. So yeah, it will appear just very, very shortly.
Indeed, and that is it for qualifying. 15 minutes are up. Checkered flag is out, and it looks like Lewis Ward takes pole position ahead of Fraser Williamson this time around. And Jack Eyre and Adam Brown will line up on row number 2. Andrew Hopley, Jordan Gronkowski, that's row 3. Roland Grossman and Rory Bryan, that's row 4, ahead of Michael Weddle and Vic Covey, rounding out the top 10. Then we go down to John Lang and Peter Butcher, that's row 6. Sam Corson and Peter Moore, that's row 7, ahead of David Simon. Kieran Smart, Martin Buchan, Mark Cuthbert, Sam Harper and Anil Singh in the 42, rounding out the top 20. Looks like completing the running order will be Gary Brown, Tom Jones, Blair McConaughey, Logan Hanna, Cameron Ritchie, Grant Angus, Jacqueline Chalmers, Ian Erasmus, Sean Doby and Scott Smith. 30 cars here at Silverstone. What a glorious sight, David. Yeah,
this is going to be something very, very special indeed. So we're just ready, just moments away from getting started here. And what a race this is going to be. I am so, so excited for this.
I think that makes 2 of us, mate. That makes 2 of us. But I think in many respects, this is the first real test that they're going to have. Because apart from this and Bathurst Mount Panorama are the only 2 circuits that will have a single 60, as the red light's about to start to ignite on the starting gantry here for 60 minutes of racing. Just waiting for everyone to be on the grid, and they will get things underway with the Porsche safety car. So over to David to get things underway here at the home of British Motorsport.
Excellent, thank you very much, Alex Goldschmidt, as ever, the awesome co-voice here of the SMRC iRacing eSports Championship, and we are getting ready to get underway then. And Fraser Williamson has got it all to do right now because he's got some very, very fast cars around him. Lewis Ward, Jack Eyre and Adam Brown. Let us go on the nose cone of our race leader, because the pace car is about to pull off. And indeed, away we go, the red light's on. We are racing here at Silverstone. And a brilliant start for your pole sitter Lewis Ward into the lead there. The cars making their way through turn 1 just now up in towards Farm Corner. It's all looking very, very decent so far. I can't really see anybody too badly affected. Peter Moore has had a bit of a moment and he is facing the wrong way. That is him just over there. Not so good.
Gary Brown and Peter Moore now rejoins. Square at the tail end, Charlie, of the field, and that is through Village and through into the left at the loop. But at the moment, Lewis Ward is starting to try and pull away from Fraser Williamson, who has Jack Eyre nipping at his rear tyres like a little scalded Yorkshire Terrier at the moment as they come through. As they'll head through to Brooklands, and that is Logan Hanna. That is a very badly damaged Porsche, as Logan's made the switch from the BMW to the Porsche for this round at Silverstone, and unfortunately the number 9 has come off a bit worse than expected.
Certainly has. So back to your race for the lead then, and it is still Lewis Ward ahead of Fraser Williamson, Jack Eyre and Adam Brown as well. And look at that, it's Jack Eyre just getting a little couple of wheels on the grass there as they come through the complex at Maggots and Beckett's. A wonderful fast flowing section, one of my favourite parts of the circuit here as they come out towards the Hangar Straight. And this is just raw power from the Porsches as they make their way down that straight. But look at that, Fraser Williamson under all sorts of pressure there from Jack Eyre. Looks to one side, thinks better of it. And is Jackie going to try and throw it up the inside? No, he doesn't.
Andrew Hopley leading the way for the BMWs. The Munich Love Fest is well and truly in with Mr. Two Thumbs Fresh as Logan Hanna. Again, unfortunately, another moment. I think Logan needs to get that car to the pits and get the damage repaired. Because even though we're only 2 minutes into the 60-minute encounter, David, the strategy call might work that if Logan gets that car repaired rather quickly, as that is Adam Brown, who's way down the order now, and that is in 15th position, and Kieran Smart has got past. And that's Mark Cuthbert going side by side. Here's Martin Bucket up the inside too, up to P16. But one of the biggest things that I'm not at all surprised about is that Lewis Ward is leading, but Fraser Williamson in the 369 Porsche 718 Cayman, David, is not letting Lewis breathe, whatever. And they say that it is a bit of a marathon and endurance race. Well, this looks to be a 60-minute flat-out sprint.
Yeah, and we're going to have to keep our eyes all the way through the field, because here's that battle that you were just talking about with Martin Buchan in that bright pink Porsche making its way down the track there. He's just overtaken Mark Cuthbert there for 15th place, and he's now going to be hunting down Kieran Smart, as we see, late on the brakes for Mark Cuthbert there. And there's even more action further down, as we see almost 4 wide coming down the back straight there. Oh, that was huge action there. Peter Moore trying to get out of the way there. Ian Erasmus trying to fire it up the inside to take that P27. Side by side contact.
Oh, Blair McConaughey in the walls again. No, Blair McConaughey was actually around the outside of Ian Erasmus and gets hit. I think what happened that Blair McConaughey gave Ian Erasmus enough room, and you know what they say, if you let them take an inch, they will take a mile, and that's exactly what Ian Erasmus has done. So I'm sure whether our official clerk of the course, we have got a real-life clerk of the course here in the SMRC eSports iRacing Summer Championship to look at every bit of the action, and we'll have all the replays. As Peter Moore making a bit of recovery, he's just got Grant Angus just up ahead.
You hate to see it though, Alex, don't you? I mean, Blair's has tried so hard to keep himself in contention for this, and always seems to find himself right in the thick of the action. Logan Hanna again still struggling with that car, and in fact Logan Hanna has went off into pit lane there. So yeah, that's been a terrible start to her race. Andrew Hopley is up into 4th place, just about 9/10 of a second ahead of Jordan Gronkowski. That's some big lap times just got in there from your leaders. Lewis Ward 2:12.506. And really showing the rest of the field how it's done. Sam Corson and Kieran Smart with some fantastic pace, as we see David Simon going sideways. Oh, that's going to be a huge moment there. He's going to be very lucky if he doesn't get collected. There's cars going left and right, and I think that is on the exit of Cops. It is, because that is, in fact, no, I tell a lie. That is on the entry to Farm Corner, isn't it? It certainly is.
Yeah. So, yeah, going into the right at Village, now into the left, into the loop, and David Simon, one of the Team Fordzilla's drivers, and Cameron Ritchie actually just has a moment there going through the exit of the loop, so allows the number 18 to get through, as Simon came flying out sideways from Aintree down the Wellington Straight, heading towards Brooklands, braking from around about the 60-metre mark. That's how deep you can break in from Brooklands coming down the Wellington Straight, because through Aintree you're probably pushing around 80, 90 miles an hour. As here's Adam Brown around the outside, that was of Sam Harper from Missed Apex. One of the other things that people might not remember is that we, between myself and David, we do have to decide the talk driver of the day for round 3. So we will be keeping our steely eyes on all our competitors. Gary Brown, unfortunately, David, is also in the pits in the 87.
Yeah, looks like he is off getting some repairs, because he did crash. It came up on my timing screens that he did come into a bit of a cropper there. But, I mean, there's so much to see all through the track, and this is what I've said week in, week out. It doesn't matter what your pace is, you're always going to have a battle with someone. I mean, look at this battle for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th place there. Peter Butcher in the lead from Michael Weddle, John Lang and Sam Corson. Sam Corson and Kieran Smart have got incredible pace right now, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye out on those guys as well.
Yeah, don't forget about Michael Weddle. He's just behind Peter Butcher in the 82, so it's 2 Rethink Racing teammates, as Lewis Ward puts in a 2:13. Point looks like 3.75 as Scott Smith looks to have had a moment. Down to 21st position goes the 101 BMW, rocking the iconic BMW Motorsport colours. And just up behind them is Jacqueline Chalmers and Peter Moore. Oh, bit wide there from Grant Angus, who's got Cameron Ritchie just behind. For close company. Well, not as close as probably Cameron would like to be. And then Sean Doby is in the 159. Just looking at the positional increases, Jacqueline Chalmers has gone up from 27th. There's contact there, and that is Vic Covey in the trenches. And that might have been
John Lang, I think that was.
Yeah, in the 48 Missed Apex car. So remember what happened after the first race at Okayama?
Yes, how could I forget? What a move!
I'm not going to go into that one, but him and Rory, their Porsches weren't exactly first-hand, new out of the showroom.
Oh, there's contact behind!
Kieran Smart gets a little bit of a tag there and gets pitched sideways. And that might have been, I think, possibly from John Lang, as Adam Brown gets up the inside of the number 39 BMW. Here comes Mark Cuthbert. He's going to make... Now, if he makes it three wide, going into Cops, he's a very, very brave individual indeed, but thinks better of it. Discretion is the better part of valour. And just behind is the number 52 of Missed Apex Racing Teams, Sam Harper.
So what we'll do then, Alex, is we'll treat the viewers to a little bit of on-board action from Kieran Smart.
Yep, so going through into what is going to be Beckett's, then into the left. So he's through third, gone up into fourth gear. They'll be exiting it at around 100 miles an hour, down the very, very long hanger straight up to fifth. Probably pulls sixth if he's lucky. As he gets right to the toe of Adam Brown, up the inside, heading towards Stowe. That's a great move from the BMW, down to third gear. Brown keeping it around the outside of the BMW for the moment as they go through Vale. And that's actually pretty good tactical work there by Kieran Smart. But Adam Brown still up on the inside, heading in towards Club. And the Porsche makes it through at the moment, as Mark Cuthbert was very late on the brakes behind Kieran Smart. And then Sam Harper's just waiting the wings, down in 17th position. There's Jordan Gronkowski in the 5th placed number 33 Porsche. And he's not that far away from Andrew Hopley. But I've been pretty impressed by Hopley at the moment, David, because the BMW is not as struggling now as it was at Spa, because we found it from multiple drivers that they were having issues with the tyres not working the way that they should do.
Yeah, that's the thing that we alluded to on the chat at qualifying, Alex, was the fact that the tyre management is a huge issue, and we're really going to find that out in the next 20 minutes, because it was after about sort of 10-15 minutes time that the tyres from the BMW would drop off significantly worse than the Porsches. So we'll see how that goes, but at the moment 3 BMWs in the top 20, and I wouldn't bet against another couple sneaking in as well.
Yep, still plenty of time, just over 10 minutes completed out of 60, so 1/6 down, 5/6 to go, as we are now with Jordan Gronkowski again, and he has got Rory Bryant. Rory's been showing some good pace. He's been like a silent assassin in the middle of the night, even though it's pure daylight here at Silverstone. And then you look back to the likes of Martin Buchan, who's got Sam Harper trying to, well, that's John Lang actually in the in the Missed Apex car, trying to close him down. You can just see the difference of driving styles here as well. Martin Buchan's very, very clean and precise, and then you got people like John Lang that are just going full beans, full berries, send it into the corner and see what happens, as we see Kieran Smart trying to go back up the inside of Adam Brown again. And he's making the same sort of moves that he was doing last time when they came through Stowe, but this time Brown has to run going through into Vale. But I've seen moves before where in sim racing where people have gone towards the outside of Club on the entrance into it, and they've got the inside run for the next double right. So that's a bit of a bump over the sausage curves around the outside from Adam Brown. That's going to allow Kieran Smart to close. So a good job by Kieran Smart to keep things going, as he's looking to send it up the inside through Abbey. Let's see if he's got the move done. No, Brown's still ahead for the moment as they go through the left at Farm. And they'll go into the right at Village. As that's Logan Hanna out again on the circuit, just keeping out of the way, using this as, I think, an extended test session, I would believe, in order to get used to the Porsche. Bit of a change for Logan as she was running the BMW for the first couple of rounds. But Kieran Smart, David, still looking pretty handy behind Adam Brown for 14th.
Yeah, pretty strong performance right now from Kieran. He's keeping himself within contention, and Michael Weddle goes off. A huge moment there for Michael Weddle. He was up into 8th place. He'd overtaken Peter Butcher, and I think he's escaped very, very lucky out of that one. That could have been so much worse, because from the looks of it, that was quite late on into the track there. That would have been at Luffield, I think, or the entrance to Brooklands.
Yeah, if it was coming off of the Wellington Straight.
Oh,
that's been a moment for somebody else.
Peter
there.
Butcher.
Who's dropped?
That is Peter Butcher.
Oh, the mistakes are starting to come, and we're only 13 minutes into this race. So Peter Butcher drops all the way down to 17th position. The Rethink Racing driver having a moment there. So first it was Michael Weddle, and then Peter Butcher, I think, has just done a sympathy spin for his teammate. I mean, I don't know what to think.
What I'm looking at is this battle up at the top, because it's now come right back down again. It was up at around about 0.6 of a second, but Fraser Williamson is keeping Lewis Ward very, very honest. I mean, it's difficult to believe we're only 13 minutes into this race. It feels like we've done half an hour already, and that gap is well and truly come down now, because that's now down to 0.2 of a second. We could be seeing a challenge for the lead very shortly, or are we seeing Fraser Williamson doing some pressure?
Well, I think that Lewis Ward has just made the first big mistake going sideways in that Porsche. And you could just see, as Fraser Williamson now, trying to put that pressure on David, could force himself into an unforced error situation. And then you look at who's just behind. He's only about 1.5 seconds of this battle. It's Jack Eyre. And think of it this way. Fraser Williamson can't afford to do mistakes like Lewis Ward is doing, where Lewis is under the kibosh. He is the one that is feeling the heat under the collar. And as they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, in this case, it's the race car, not the kitchen, that you need to get out of if it's too hot in there. But Lewis Ward still doing a really good job as they come through Woodcote and go across the old start-finish straights, as Michael Weddle up the inside of Martin Buchan there, 4P10. So good recovery there from the number 17.
But have a look at that. Martin Buchan powers it around the inside, and he's going to have the inside line. It's now going to be coming up to Klopp's Corner. That was a wonderful move around Luffield and then into Woodcote. But here we go. And great defence from Martin Buchan. He takes that place back and makes it look quite convincing as well.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it is one thing to get the position, it's another thing to keep it. Martin Buchan just showed that in spades, realistically. Scott Smith now up past, that is Tom Jones just behind in 21st position. So Tom Jones not having a better run like he did back at Spa-Francorchamps just a couple of weeks ago. But the biggest thing that I've just seen is that, well, Ian Erasmus is at least a couple of laps down off of the leaders after a potential spin. But Kieran Smart now, P13, so we've still got, some of the BMWs still running in the top 25, but we are seeing a Porsche meritocracy in this, David. And, it's the only opportunity that drivers had to change their cars, as now Jones goes up the inside of Smith. That's a very brazen move if Smith gets one put up the inside, but no, Jones thinks twice of it.
Yeah, that was never going to happen, was it? Meanwhile, back up at the top of the field, Rory Bryant in a cracking little battle here with Ronald Grossman in 7th place, side by side, as they come through towards the Wellington Straight here. And they're going to be coming up towards Brooklands any second now, but it looks like Rory Bryant has just lost out to Ronald Grossman there. So Ronald Grossman up into 6th place and Rory Bryant relegated down into P7 now.
Yeah, but Rory, we've seen that he's had his fair shares of really, really good battles. I mean, Okayama in race 2 was a perfect example of that. So you never know. I mean, there's every opportunity that he can move up the order. He's been pretty consistent, Rory. He's 5th in points coming into this round on 72. So he's still got a shot at the championship, which will conclude at Bathurst in the second week of September the 11th to be more precise. But some of the tracks we're going to visit, we've got Road Atlanta in a couple of weeks. We've then got so that's the double 30 at Donington. Then we've got the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and then Autodromo Nazionale di Monza before Mount Panorama. This calendar, I think, has just been absolutely nailed perfectly. But great to be here at Silverstone in any case.
Stellar lineup still to go. We just reached the halfway point after we're finished this race. We take a little 2-week break and we're back in 2 weeks' time for Road Atlanta, the full course, of course, and then it's said to Donington Park, and then Brazil for the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. And again the Grand Prix circuit, as well as the track at Monza, and then Bathurst. I'm both equal parts excited, very excited, but I'm so scared as well. I'm so frightened that we get a one-lap race and everybody's retired.
Well, as long as we don't have a Virgin Australia Supercars redress, we'll be absolutely fine.
I like what you did there. You're a brave man.
Well, the thing is that Bathurst has been the site of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 Hours for a number of years. It's back for 2021, and I had a really interesting chat with a lady that's been competing in the W Series eSports League, which has just concluded its action this week. Caitlin Wood, know her very well. Met her when she was with Writer Engineering. She came over to the UK, having won the Young Stars program. Was in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Was the shortest race weekend, but we had a chat last week. And she hopefully will at one point return in the KTM Crossbow GT4 as we go on board with Jordan Gronkowski to hopefully have a third stab at the mountain with M Motorsport in the GT4s once again. And she's a lovely lady, just recently got married too. But I think with what we've got with Bathurst being the final round on the calendar, I think that's really going to test everybody. As we now have Martin Buchan and Michael Weddle closing on Vic Covey. Watch the rearview mirrors, mates.
Martin Buchan. And there's contact.
There's a slight tag there. Oh dear. That was close. That's not what you want to do going through Beckett's.
Martin Buchan in the middle of an SMRC sandwich at the moment. Because remember, Rory Bryant and Vic Covey are staff members of the SMRC, so fantastic to see them scrapping it out and really getting involved. That's what I've really loved about this series, is the fact that you've got so many people that are full-time involved with the SMRC, getting involved in this and just having an absolute blast. They're not here to make up the numbers. They are proper through and through racers. Vic Covey, we see him in the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup. Michael Weddle as well in the minis, and we also see, now where is he? He is a little bit further up. Rory Bryant as well, taking a little bit of a step back for the past couple of years. He's more into the business development side of things, but yeah, he is an incredibly talented and fast racer as well. I'm going to leave out the word young because I don't think he earns it anymore, does Rory Bryant.
Please let him not.
I'm just waiting for the phone call. I'm going to get a phone call tonight.
No, you're going to get a WhatsApp, an abusive WhatsApp later on, and saying, "Sorry, boss."
Yeah, that's every single night. What can I say? Back up to the lead then, and this gap is now down to 0.3 of a second again between Fraser Williamson and Lewis Ward. It's ebbing and flowing and coming right back in, and all of the gaps are really closing in very closely on each other. But I think it looks like Fraser Williamson might have the run here. Let's go on board down in towards Cops Corner. Earlier on the power as well, he gets the advantage and he is closing. That gap now just under 0.3 of a second through Maggots and Beckett's, and then into Abbey. So through Beckett's, and just a wonderful complex, Alex. It's so easy to make a mistake and not get as much speed as you possibly could out of that complex.
Yeah, I mean, very much the case, but now You can see the amount of slipstream. That's going to give Fraser Williamson at least a tenth, 2 tenths as they head down towards Stowe. As there's Michael Weddle just behind Vic Covey, so Martin Buchan has got past.
Look at Kieran Smart though. Kieran Smart in 12th place. He is hounding these three and could potentially be on for a top 10 finish.
Well, considering his last lap was a 2 minute 13.91, Weddle 2 minute 15.6, Vic Covey a 2 minute 16.4, Martin Buchan a 2 minute 15.67. So you can now see how much this BMW has improved thanks to the patch with regards to iRacing. So I think with the way that Andrew Hopley in 4th, Kieran Smart in 12th position, Mark Cuthbert in 18th, Scott Smith now rounds out the top 20. Bit of a moment there for Kieran Smart as he went over the sausage curb there. But the BMW has really got that little bit more of an equaliser now. And it's really great that we're going to have some people, and now you can actually see the stint, the pit stop strategy, the stint lengths down on the bottom right hand corner of your screens, and it's just showing how much better some people are getting in terms of how they're going to go through their stints. Yeah,
so that'll start populating once we start getting the pit stops out of the way. We'll start to see what lap that they've pitted in on and just how much they've been able to get out of the tyres and out of the fuel. And I think strategy is going to be a very, very interesting thing as it comes through to the end of this race. But it's difficult to look past this battle because just behind them you've got Kieran Smart trying to fight off Adam Brown as well, and then you've got Martin Buchan, Vic Covey and Michael Weddle separated by just a couple of tenths of a second here, as we see Sam Harper trying to catch up onto the back of David Simon there, but it's not to be. They're coming round Luffield, and what a race we've had so far. 23 minutes in and we have got plenty more to come right now. And Kieran Smart actually dropping down, sorry.
Yeah, Adam Brown has been at his jugular again, isn't he? These two haven't really sort of been kept apart in any way, shape or form. So Smart gets a bit of a good run. I just think in many respects it's quite good to see that you're seeing the ebb and flow. And that's what you want in an endurance race. You'll see like the first 5 minutes is when everyone just goes for it and leaves nothing on the table, and then they start getting into that flow. Others will make mistakes, others will have dramas, others will be able to circumnavigate the pressure and the mental and the physical exertion, as we're about 5.5 minutes from half time here at Silverstone. But I haven't seen anyone Grant Angus has actually pitted, it looks like. Grant Angus is currently down in P26 as things stand at the moment, and there is the number 23.
Yeah, so he's a lap down at the moment, so he's making his way around. This is now just going to be a recovery drive for the likes of Cameron Ritchie, Sean Dobie, Tom Jones, Blair McConaughey. They're so far down, but they need to try and just stick in there to keep the points. And that will happen if they keep their foot in and just keep going with it. They will get the points. Meanwhile, back up at the front there, Michael Weddle makes a move on Vic Covey and takes that 10th place back to try and catch up to Martin Buchan. Martin Buchan's had a sensational race, climbing all the way back up into 8th place. 9th place, and that is 8 places that he has gained.
Yeah, I mean it's not too bad at all, really, in that sort of respect. So. I think it's quite good that you're going to see some of the drivers, like, you know, we've been commentating on Martin through the Cinetic BMW series, which is part of the E-Team Brit GT Challenge, which both myself and David are on tomorrow night from 7 PM British Summer Time.
That was smooth, mate. That was smooth.
That was, yes. Well, I have to give promo for the fact that we are working together on 2 different championships, aren't we?
I know, so it is wonderful though. I mean, I really do enjoy the Team Brit, and it would be fantastic if we could get some sort of crossover, because, you know, essentially it's a very similar premise. We've got almost, you know, GT3 cars and we've got BMWs here, so there's a big market for both of the sets of drivers here. But yeah, we've just to touch on what you were saying there, we see Martin Buchan more than we would some of the other drivers, and I think that's quite a blessing, because you touched upon it earlier, Alex. You said he's a very smooth and consistent driver, and that's exactly how he gets the best out of that car.
Yeah, and it's also about the mechanical sympathy. Because if you don't have mechanical sympathy, and this is something that I know through my karting commentary, and one of the other things that I'm really pleased about is I'll be flying back over to Belgium later on this month to have my first European gig since March the 8th. That feels like an eternity. But in karting, it's the same thing. You get some people that just go really, really for it, as Kieran Smart hustling away. And that is John Lang up ahead. So Kieran Smart has definitely got the gloves off now, and he's put it up the inside of the 48. And has he got past yet? He pretty much has.
Oh, he's done it.
That's a great job from Kieran Smart. Into Village, he's done him by Village. So John Lang, through caution to the win. Kieran Smart said, "Thanks, buddy. You just opened up the door like I wanted you to."
But now John Lang is going to have the drive as they come down Wellington Straight here. And Kieran Smart tries to be wise to that one, because John Lang's going to move to the left-hand side. Very good evening to Thomas O'Connor, who is joining us in YouTube tonight. He is, of course, a competitor in the console championship last night. Wants to ask where he gets a protest form for the commentary team that was myself and Andy Alston picking on him last night. I may have made a joke. Thomas and I are good friends. We're in a couple of group chats together. I may have joked that he's 52 years old. I've got absolutely no idea what age he actually is, but it's what we up here call the bants. But great to see him watching on board.
Yeah, I've just seen that, and the three laughing emojis with tears falling from its face means that I'm only joshing.
Yeah, he's a good lad, and did well. Just jumped into the championship last night after the exit from Fraser McNeil, so it was welcome aboard to Thomas O'Connor. But back to tonight, let's have an eye on what we're going. Look at this battle for the lead. How can they still be within 0.5 of a second after 30 minutes? This is just
Gronkowski's in. Gronkowski's in. Gronkowski is in from P3, so he's dropped down. But coming back to what you were saying, this is the first of the mandatory pit stops here at Silverstone. So Vic Covey now in the pits.
So Vic Covey and Jordan Gronkowski, the first to blink, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them in terms of pit lane. Here we go then, David Simon, Peter Butcher into pit lane as well. And this is going to fire off the signals, isn't it? This is going to let everyone know that it is time to think about pit stops here. Have a look at Martin Buchan. He's under real pressure from Michael Weddle. And I think they're going to be in on this next lap as well as we come up to the halfway point of round 3 of the SMRC iRacing Summer Championships. What a race we've got so far. It's Lewis Ward currently in the lead from your championship leader Fraser Williamson, and then Jack Eyre in third place. We are just starting our round of pit stops, and John Gronkowski has just left pit lane, so I make that was about 35 seconds into pit lane.
Yeah, David Simon, Vic Covey out. So we're going to see it thick and fast, but the biggest question here now, David, is who is going to blink first out of our two leaders? They've been running in the 2-minute 13s. Fraser Williamson on the last lap was a 2-minute 13.13, and that was 7/1000ths quicker than our leader Lewis Ward. So it's about who blinks first, and if Williamson can jump him on the straightaway as they're coming down, I think this is Hanger Straight heading towards Stowe. Williamson comes out of the toe, up the inside, takes the lead nice and cleanly through the apex, through Stowe from Lewis Ward. We just passed half time on the clock, counting down. So just 31 minutes pretty much completed as we go through club. That's the move that I think Williamson knew that he had to do there, David, because he wanted to get ahead of Lewis Ward when they go into the pits.
Andrew Hopley into pit lane.
Yeah. So I'm sort of wondering if we could get like a viewpoint of what their speed, what their dash displays are saying of how much fuel they've actually got on the tanks
in
these cars.
We won't actually be privy to that information, unfortunately, because of the way that iRacing works. It restricts that information from other drivers for the reason so that no other drivers can one-up drivers on strategy and things like that. Now, have a look at that. That's 0.6 of a second that Fraser Williamson has pulled on Lewis Ward already, as we see a lot of the other cars making their way into pit lane. Now, what I want to know is, has he been deliberately driving within that car so that he can then get something else at the end and possibly save some of the tyres towards the end?
I think you're right there, because you could just see how far Lewis Ward actually dropped off there, and that was quite interesting, because now Fraser Williamson, we've seen him at, the race 1 victory at Okayama, the 2 race victories at Spa. When he got in the lead, he started pushing, and pushing big time. But here, I don't think that he quite knows how Lewis Ward is going to counter any sort of offensive that Fraser Williamson has. The gap's now up to 0.8 of a second as they go through into Beckett's, then into the left at Chapel. But one of the biggest things is that you're probably right there, David, that he has been driving within the limits. He hasn't been pushing as hard as people might think. And that is where you get the difference between a good driver and a great driver.
That is absolutely spot on. A great driver is one that knows his car, knows the tyres, knows the fuel level, knows the ins and outs, and has practiced so much that he knows every single aspect of the car and the track. So that is what we're seeing here. The amount of hours that these guys and girls put in is just sensational. Lewis Ward, though, catching up on that gap. It's now down to just over 2.5 of a second because Fraser Williamson coming across a back marker there. And this is not, I think, how Fraser saw this one going.
No, because with a single 60, there's always going to be that option of back marker traffic. And that was that Peter Butcher, I think?
Yeah, just moved.
They just got past.
Pulled off to the side.
Dobie. Yeah, Vic Covey's back in the pits. Cameron Ritchie's had an off-track moment. Martin Buchan now in. Scott Smith, out of all the field so far, has made the most positional gains. He's made up 14 places. Remember, he started from dead last, 30th, and he's up to nearly halfway through the field, as we've had just over 34 minutes elapsed in this single 60 here at Silverstone.
Now, I wonder if what happened there was that Lewis Ward just backed off a little bit and his tyres came back to life, because certainly Fraser Williamson seems to be overdriving that car right now, and they're going to be reaching the life limit of those tyres and potentially their fuel tanks as well, because the car gets lighter and the tyres are having to work even harder. They're getting even hotter and even stickier, and there's a big moment there, big slide from Fraser Williamson, loses himself a big chunk of speed there, and this is all on Lewis Ward now. How is he going to handle this going through towards Maggots and Beckett's?
Yeah, gets a bit more bumpy for Lewis Ward on the right hand side going through Maggots. Now into Beckett's. So they've dropped down a couple of the gears, and they're both starting to scrabble for traction there, David. I think Williamson is probably the worst off of the two as they come through Chapel. Down the hanger straight, out of the toe comes Ward. Just to go back in.
Oh no.
As they've got Blair McConaughey just up ahead. As they're going to head into the right-hander at Stowe. Lewis Ward is using, I think, a bit more strategy here, because effectively Fraser Williamson, because he's the one punching the hole in the dirty air, as he's just pitted, and Ward has stayed out. So maybe Williamson has thought, you know what, I need to get in front of I need to get out ahead, and when Lewis comes to pits in, I will be ready to pounce. So Lewis Ward, with 35 minutes and 37 seconds completed, now inherits the lead, having led it for quite a bit of a distance before just the half-hour mark, if memory serves me correctly, David. But Lewis Ward, I think he's now going to put in a couple of quick laps, because they both were compromised by around about a second or so on that last lap or two because of the back marker traffic.
Yep, so we will see how this one is going to play out. Let's see if the pit strategy is start to fill itself out, so we can see there the top 7 cars still to pit. Our first one that hasn't pitted. In fact, that is John Lang. So John Lang's just went into the pits just now, and yeah, we'll get some proper information in just a couple of laps' time.
Yeah, Anil Singh has just pitted from P14. Sam Harper's in the pits. So that will mean Gronkowski will go up to 13th, Brown to 15th, Scott Smith. Yep, so there's been, looks like Logan Hanna's come into the pits. So it is changing all the time. So Brown and Smith now go up into 12th and 13th. Let's not forget here, David, that Scott Smith hasn't pitted yet. Neither is Mark Cuthbert. Neither is Michael Weddle or Kieran Smart. And then the top 5. I
think basically all of your top 10 at the moment haven't pitted right now. No, actually, Andrew Hopley has. But just interestingly, we've just brought up the incident points as well. Remember, 26 incident points will gain you an automatic stop-go penalty right now. So most drivers well within that. But Fraser Williamson is going to have to watch himself. He's already on 11, so he's got about 15 that he can do before his race is absolutely ruined by a stop-go penalty. So it's definitely worth having an eye on that.
Well, he did have an off-track excursion at race 2 at Okayama. Let's not forget, in that carambolage of a start, and there is the 369 just behind. I think that is Sam Corson just up ahead in the 68. So Fraser Williamson on that lap just a moment ago was 2 minute 14.57. So once he gets a bit of tow, bit of dirty air, that's going to help him in the slipstream. And let's not forget here, David, that he is the 3rd fastest driver in terms of fastest lap set in this race so far. Lewis Ward, our current leader, who has an 8.5 second gap over Jack Eyre, has the fastest lap of the race. Jack Eyre has the 2nd fastest, and then it is Fraser Williamson, as Michael Weddle, Rory Bryant, and Sam Corson now all in pit lane.
Now, what I want to know is what has happened to Vic Covey. Vic Covey was up fighting in the top 10, and now he is down into 23rd place. And as you rightly spotted, he actually ended up having to go into pit lane twice. So we'll have a little look at what his incidents are sitting at the moment. Let's have a look. No, 7x, so he's absolutely fine right now. So we don't know what's happened to him, but we'll keep our eyes out and find out what's happened there. But now I think we're down to the top 5 that haven't pitted yet. Kieran Smart, Fraser Williamson has pitted, excuse me. Ronald Grossman, Jack Eyre and Lewis Ward are your top 3, and they need to pit.
Scott Smith and Jacqueline Chalmers also haven't pitted yet. Mark Cuthbert and Rory Bryant have done. David Simon's had a moment. Jacqueline Chalmers now comes into the pits. Mark Cuthbert is leaving the pit lane. But Lewis Ward, I mean, how has he been able to go on for nearly 40 minutes on that one tank of fuel? I think he's just, I'm looking at the gap between him, because I think what he's trying to do, and this is quite smart from Lewis, is to try and just keep a consistent pace. He's just done a 2 minute 13.7. And his gap between him and Fraser Williamson is around 31.4 seconds. So Ward, I think if he can get to like 35 to 40 seconds as he now jumps into the pits, now is the time to dive in. And one of the good things is, David, he's going to have to put less fuel in the car. That's the key point. So the car will be lighter. It might help him as Jack Eyre also comes into the pits. So this is where it's going to really make all the difference. The later you pit, the less fuel you have to put in, and the more tyres you're going to have underneath you. Yeah, because it's going to create less friction, less wear on the tyres that you get put in. So this could be a masterclass in strategy from Lewis Ward, and this is exactly what we said here. I cannot get my eyes off at Kieran Smart right now. What a race he has had to go up 11 places, but even more impressively than that, Scott Smith, 19 places he's gained. I think that these BMWs are doing such a great job, and I'm sure that Scott Smith will be thinking, I think I've got a doozy, I've got a pearler of a car here, and now it's coming to them. Mark Cuthbert is in as Jack Eyre now exits in what will possibly be around about 5th place. But look at Andrew Hopley, P6, Scott Smith, P11, Mark Cuthbert, P16. So some of the people that might have decided to go for the Porsche might have regretted their decision somewhat, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very possible, but I'm delighted to see that our battle for the lead is well and truly back on. Lewis Ward just behind Fraser Williamson by about 0.7 of a second, and that is going to go right down to the wire, because Lewis Ward is he's going to have the fresher tyres come the end of the race. So we'll see how that one plays out. Maybe by, I think, only about 4 or 5 laps over Williamson. In fact, 2 laps for Williamson, so it's not massive amounts of an advantage. So 0.8 of a second between those two. Let's have a little look further down the field there, because Kieran Smart is just ahead of Jack Hare by about 2 seconds, and then further down you've got a battle between John Gronkowski and Sam Corson going on as well. And some of the guys from the SMRC who were up in the top 10 now kind of falling away at the wayside, Alex. Michael Weddle's still up there in 10th place, but Rory Bryant now down to 12th place as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting you say that, because I'm looking at some of the other distances as Ronald Korsman now pits, and here's a battle between John Lang and Rory Bryant, and Rory manages to keep it planted round the outside through Woodcote, coming out of Luffield and head down towards Copse. But then I'm looking at the if I'm honest with you, the gap that is between, let's say, Kieran Smart and Jordan Gronkowski. If Kieran Smart plays his cards right, he's in the pits now, he could probably end up in P6, I would think, depending on how things happen, because now Ronald Korsman will now go back into 3rd place, and Kieran Smart, let's not forget, has increased his positions by quite a significant amount, as Logan Hanna has another off-track moment, unfortunately. Scott Smith, in the meantime, though, is still circulating. He's in 11th position. He is yet to pit, and there is just over 15 minutes of this race still to go. In
fact, there goes Scott Smith into pit lane right now then, so a cracking run from Scott Smith. That will put him back down into about, I would imagine, P16 or P17, but we will see how that one works itself out. Meanwhile, here we go. This is the battle for the lead then, where we thought Fraser Williamson had something left in the tank for reserves. He might be trying to just keep the pace nice and calm, keep those tyres nice and fresh for the 10-minute burst that's going to happen towards the end there. But that gap now down to under 0.3 of a second, Alex.
It's a repeat of what we saw earlier on, that Lewis Ward, having decided to pit later, has had to put less fuel in the car. It means that the Porsche is so much more planted. He can get a really good run. Look at him go. I mean, Fraser Williamson is like thinking, I want to get the maximum amount of points. Sorry, Lewis. And if he tries to do a thou shalt not pass defence, Lewis Ward, I fear, has that pace and that bravado to throw one up the inside of the 369. Probably, I think, within the last 5 minutes of the race. You can just see, it might not even be that, because the way they're coming down the Hanger Straights, just look at the toe that Lewis Ward has got. Heading into Stowe, onto the brakes. Yeah, I think probably in the next couple of laps we could see that Lewis Ward will have the upper hand on Fraser Williamson for what is the lead as we go onto the front bumper cam, down through Vale into the Club. And that's how close he's getting, David.
That is like, unbelievable.
You can't put a piece of A4 paper between them without someone trying to tear it to shreds, and in this case it is the number 98. They head down towards Abbey and through they go, and like Lewis Ward is just absolutely throwing caution to the wind, 2 wheels on the grass, digging up the mud as he goes through, but I think Fraser Williamson now knows, I'm not going to have it all my own way, am I?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the fact that Lewis Ward is keeping Fraser Williamson so honest through this race, and the cars are really coming to the drivers in these last 15 minutes, just cutting back down through the grid as well there, as we see Jordan Gronkowski in a cracking battle with Sam Corson. He's ahead now by about 2 seconds, and just there's so many different little battles. I mean, this one here between David Simon and John Lang, I've kind of been watching it on the timing screens. fascinating because they are swapping places left, right and centre, but it also means that Martin Buchan is in the mix as well. He's down in 14th place, and it'll be interesting to see just how the pit strategy is going to affect them.
Yeah, very much the case. I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to seeing is Grant Angus again in the pits, is how Scott Smith starts climbing back up the order, because out of all the drivers, the 101 BMW M4 GT4 is still in 17th position, up 13 places, and we have, 13 and a half minutes to go. I think there's every possibility that if Scott Smith gets into the top 15 at the checkered flag, that will be a fantastic result. But then you've also got Kieran Smart still in P10, trying to chase down Adam Brown. That's a battle that's been raging all the way through the races. Again, we see Lewis Ward coming through Stowe on the back bumper of Fraser Williamson through into Vale, and he's looking a lot more menacing now here, David.
Yeah, he's going to make a move to the outside. I think he's going to have that blocked off all day long for Fraser Williamson, but it's not enough. A wonderful move around the inside from Lewis Ward. I would never have seen that one coming at all, and that is a stunning move potentially for the lead, but I think Fraser Williamson might have the drive out. Are we going to go 2 cars wide? No, we're not. It's back to how it was on the end of that lap, and these two are slowing each other down. Now, I'm going to throw a word of caution to the wind here. They are now battling and lapping in the 2:14s. Jack Hare and Royal Grossman are lapping in the 2:13s. That gap is coming down. It is now just 8.3 seconds. If that gap comes under 5 seconds, we are going to have one hell of a battle in the final 10 minutes.
Yes, and I'm going to throw another curveball, because not too far behind Ronald Korsman is Andrew Hopley in the leading BMW. Who's not to say that the Porsche starts to falter in the last 5 or so minutes, and the BMWs come striking true. And that could possibly happen. I mean, if you look at the distance between Hopley and Korsman, it's about 1.7 seconds. And if I'm honest, that BMW can make that time up. You can see it's fluctuating all the time. It's going to like as high as nearly 2 seconds, drops down to about 1.6, but it just depends on how quickly it takes for Jack Hare and Ronald Korsman to get up to the back bumper of these two battling, and the leaders still not giving any quarter. Williamson still leading, but then they've got the back marker up ahead as they go through Maggots, Beckett's and into the left at Chapel. But at the moment, Williamson still has that purchase. But Lewis Ward now will start to have the run, David, coming down the Hangar Straight. And it's down to Williamson to really sort of read what Ward is doing, because they've been battling all race long. And this is going to really set us up for what's going to be a great halfway stage next time out at Road Atlanta for the double 30. Because now, Williamson, as I said earlier, he knows he's not having it easy. He knows that Ward is pushing. And again, we go through into club, and Ward this time around is getting closer in the braking zone. You can just see how much closer the 98 is as they go through round towards through these start-finish line here. And this time around, Williamson was nearly 0.3 of a second quicker as they hustled their way through Abbey. Amazing
finale we've got going on for this race. I can't believe we've already been going for 50 minutes. We will keep with them, I'm sure, and come back very, very shortly as we see Lewis Ward trying to move to the outside. But we do have to try and keep an eye through the rest of the field as well. Look at this battle here between Michael Weddle and Adam Brown. Kieran Smart's fallen all the way back to 10th place behind Adam Brown. And Rory Bryant down into 11th place as well. Further back, Scott Smith making his way back up through the field. Then he's now P17, and that is now just 5 places that he lost on that pit stop. So a brilliant effort, and one of the drives of the day for Scott Smith. It's been a brilliant performance right now. And then Anil Singh trying to hunt him down. Jacqueline Chalmers again, another spirited performance down in 21st place ahead of Cameron Ritchie, and what was looking like a really good race for Vic Covey, who is now playing catch up as well. So that is further down the order. But back with your leaders, 10 minutes left to go. We are under 10 minutes now, and Fraser Williamson just seems to get a much better run, Alex, through the Maggots and Beckett's complex here. Moves further to the left hand side here, so he can bring that Porsche in much tighter onto the apex of the corner.
Yeah, and then gets a really good run coming out of Chapel. But then Lewis Ward gets a really good run out of Chapel and is starting to close down on the hanger straight away. We're on board the front bumper of Lewis Ward now after quickly switching to Fraser Williamson. Down into the right-hander at Stowe. So let's stay with Lewis for just a moment. Just see how close as we were a bit earlier on. We're going to now power out of the corner, go up the gears through into Vale and then into the tight left-right chicane at Club. And this time around he gets a bit closer. He gets a bit smoother on the brakes because he can use Williamson as a yardstick to just sort of gauge how much later he actually needs to brake in this particular occasion as they once again cross the start-finish line. We're now on to lap number 24 of this race here at Silverstone. Through into the right at Abbey, and they're probably pushing around 5th gear, possibly around about 120 miles an hour through Farm, then down onto the brakes, possibly through into 2nd gear, through into Village. You can see that Lewis Ward is trying to do the old Nigel Mansell dummy, braking towards the outside through Village and then trying to get the run through into the loop, but it's not quite working out. A little bit of dust being kicked up by the right rear wheel of Fraser Williamson as they hurtle their way through Aintree, and that was a bit of a run.
How much room did he want on the outside of that corner? That was wild.
That was in another postcode, I'm afraid, there, Lewis. I don't know what the clerk of the course will think of that one, but my goodness, he definitely was spirited, and you can just see how hard he is pushing, because what Lewis Ward realises now as they come through Luffield, through into Woodcote, that he needs to strike in the next lap or two, get really, really close as they now head down towards Copse, as now Blair McConaughey is having the lights flashed at him by Fraser Williamson. They go through Copse, down towards Maggots and Beckett's once again, and you can now see how much closer Lewis Ward is. He knows the time is to strike is right now, like the iron's hot, and you can see how much cleaner he is through Maggots and Beckett's, and that's how close he is. He's really, really closing up in the braking zone, and they'll have to really, really start pushing here to try and get things going. But again, Lewis Ward, he's not letting Williamson breathe. Williamson knows that he has to keep defending for the next 6.5 minutes, as once again Lewis Ward gets very, very close into the braking zone through Stowe, now into the run down to Vale. And it is still too close to call here, David. I can't pick a winner from this top two battle.
Oh, and they're going to be lucky if there is going to be a winner from these top two if they don't behave themselves. But what I would say, right, putting myself in Lewis Ward's position, Alex, it is so difficult to race as close as these two are without making any contact whatsoever. So hats off to both drivers. This is just an awesome race. Now the problem is obviously we have to try and commentate on the rest of the field as well, but how can we take our eyes off of this when we've got this amazing battle going on with just 5 minutes left to go? Michael Weddle on par with Adam Brown as well, so we'll quickly go and have a little look at that as well. Michael Weddle on the inside to Adam Brown, they're side by side going in towards the final corner here. What a race this is, and some cracking battles all the way through, Alex.
Yeah, Brown gives Weddle enough racing room there, but Weddle has no opportunity apart from putting two wheels on the runoff area as they go through into Abbey, through into the left at Farm Curve. Weddle isn't done quite yet. I know for a fact that he has that steely Scottish determination to try and put one up as they go through into the right at Village, into the left at the loop. And look how close Kieran Smart is now. He is within striking distance of these two. And look at it from this perspective, David. If Weddle and Brown have a moment, Kieran Smart could take P8 at the checkered flag.
Yeah, a huge performance from Kieran Smart in the top of the end of the top 10 there. a brilliant run for him. I did not think that that was going to happen given how far he ended up going down. Again, Scott Smith down into P17 right now. What a drive from him. I cannot get over the fact that he started 30th on the grid and is currently running P17. Managed to make his way through the field, and a wonderful, wonderful race as back up to the leaders there. 0.2 of a second now. That gap coming down and down again. And it just feels like Lewis Ward has the advantage going through that final section of the course here as they come down on the run down to Vale Corner. But the gap going back up again to 0.5 of a second, and then it yo-yos back and forward. So he's going to have to get a move on. He's got 3 minutes left to make this happen. And we can use that time to have a look further down the order as well, because this battle is still going on between Adam Brown. Sam Corson is being, that is the back marker of Sean Doby that they are away to pass here just now. But it looks like Michael Weddle has been dropped.
Yeah, quite significantly. I think we're now on the penultimate lap of the race because they're running on the 2-minute 14s. I mean, Lewis Ward is slightly quicker. At the moment, he's done a 2-minute 13.98, but Adam Brown really being hustled by Michael Weddle. And the good thing is the back markers are getting out of the way just to allow people to get through. And here is Mark Cuthbert, the third highest BMW in P15, having started 18th, as he has got Sam Harper from Missed Apex on his back bumper in the Porsche. 3 minutes to go. We are about 40% through lap number 26 with 57 minutes and 15 seconds gone on the clock. David, I think it's going to be too close to call, because Lewis Ward, if he's got to do something, he's got to do it now, and he's got to do it where he's got an opportunity to get a long tow. And now, could that be the case? He's flashing the lights.
It could be, because that was 0.4 of a second. And look at the speed difference between Lewis Ward and Fraser Williamson, Alex. This could be happening this lap round. It's going to have to if he's going to make it work.
Yeah, he's got to throw all caution to the wind, and he's got to lick the stamp and send it. And that would be one hell. Now look at the run he got out of Chapel. That is brilliant from Lewis Ward. They're going down to Stoke. They are nearly side by side. Ward to the outside, Williamson to the inside. Braking from around 100 metres. Lewis Ward trying to get the carry in. Oh, Williamson's gone wide! Williamson's gone wide! Ward's taken the lead! Oh my goodness, that was perfectly timed on the approach into Stowe and then through into Vale. And he's got the move done by Club.
Lewis Ward set that up for the past 4 laps. Every time he knew that Fraser Williamson went in to that corner far too deep into Stowe Corner, he knew that he was pushing the car way too wide. And what has happened to Fraser Williamson? Because that gap now 3.7 seconds. Fraser Williamson has thrown in the towel from the looks of it. He will not get that back, and that hands Lewis Ward the win on a plate.
I think, has he had a moment? That is the biggest thing, because now, Lewis Ward has done everything right. And what did I say earlier? Fraser Williamson can't make any mistakes. Can't make any mistakes. And what has happened literally 2 minutes before the end of this race? It's happened. But the biggest thing is, when we look at the standings, he gets double points for what we would have in, they get double the amount of points.
Oh, Fraser Williamson has spun it again. Has he got damage on that car? Jack Hare up into P2, and Fraser Williamson is in a whole world of trouble right now because Ronald Grossman is right on his tail. Well, I think we're going to have one more lap. Surely, I think that is what is going to happen here. We're going to have the white flag.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is that the laps, it was a 2 minute. Yeah, Fraser Williamson had a 2-minute 14 on his last lap, but Lewis Ward, he's nearly 70% through the lap. So he's going to be coming through. That will be Stowe Corner. No. Is it going to be the checkered flag because we're now at 60 minutes?
Yeah, I think that is.
Yep, so it looks like we're going to head down to Stowe for what is the final time, where we saw just a lap ago that Lewis Ward centred up the inside of Fraser Williamson to take the lead with just a matter of moments to go. And the number 98 has done an absolute blinder. He was putting the pressure on from the word go.
Yep,
So
there we go, confirmation.
Corner.
Checker flag is out for Lewis Ward around the final corner here for the SMRC iRacing eSports Championship. Round 3 goes to Lewis Ward. A wonderful, wonderful win there. Jack Eyre will come across the line in second place. Fraser Williamson, what on earth went wrong? We will find out in the post-race interview from Fraser Williamson. Ronald Grossman comes across the line in P4. Andrew Hopley in 5th. Jordan Gronkowski, great race from him, P6. Sam Corson will finish in P7. And we have got one heck of a battle still going on between Adam Brown and Michael Weddle in towards Vale Corner for the final time. Can Michael Weddle fight it up the inside? He does! Michael Weddle at the last gasp is going to take that position from Adam Brown. So Michael Weddle, oh my goodness me!
Contact, but Weddle gets across the line in 8th place.
That was naughty.
He gets it.
Yeah, that was.
I cannot believe that.
What on earth happened there? So let's keep going further down the order. Martin Buchan comes across the line in P14. Mark Cuthbert in P15. P16 for Sam Harper. Scott Smith in P17. Anil Singh in 18th place. Peter Butcher in 19th. And then Peter Moore in 20th place there. Although they are still fighting it out just now. Peter Moore trying to make a move on the inside of Peter Butcher. This is for position.
Well, that's close. Switch back. The old dummies happened there. Good old Peter Moore up the inside of Butcher.
Oh, and there's contact and Peter Moore goes off. More contact and drama on the last lap. Hold it together, guys. It is only for the same position, but wow, Alex. Where do we even begin to unpack that race?
Does anyone have a small room and a cat I can swing at the moment? Because that's what I feel like right now.
What a race, though! What a race that we have just had here.
It was the true call of strategy, and Lewis Ward timed it. To perfection. Fraser Williamson, I think, had 2 off-track excursions, and that was his race done. A real shame for Fraser, because think of it this way: it puts Lewis Ward back into the championship hunt, well and truly having picked up 70 points after that. And just looking at it, Lewis Ward also gets the fastest lap of the race in the process. 2 minute 12.38.
Unbelievable. Let's have a little rundown then. Alex, do you want to take us through the final running order then?
So Lewis Ward wins the first of 2 singles 60s here at Silverstone by 7.5 seconds ahead of Jack Eyre with... now, the thing is that I've got the screenshotted version here where Fraser Williamson took 3rd ahead of Ronald Korsman, with Andrew Hopley being the leading BMW in the number 25. Jordan Gronkowski in 6th ahead of the 68 of Sam Corson. Michael Weddle and Adam Brown having that start-finish line. Let's just say it was more than just a contretemps. There was more than a war of words. I think a nuclear missile had been thrown in their general direction. Well, I'd like to hear from both parties on that one, and I'm sure they're having a discussion about it right now. Kieran Smart in 10th ahead of Rory Bryant. David Simon, John Lang, Martin Buchan, and Mark Cuthbert ran out the top 15 ahead of Sam Harper, Scott Smith, Anil Singh, Peter Butcher, Peter Moore running out the top 20. And then it was Jacqueline Chalmers, Cameron Ritchie, Vic Covey, Sean Dobie, Blair McConaughey, Grant Angus, Gary Brown, Logan Hanna, Tom Jones, and Ian Erasmus rounding out all 30 strong.
Wow. Right, let's go and have a look at who we've got in the waiting room, because we've only got 2 drivers so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are wanting to come and have a chat with us, head into the waiting room and we will drag people in. But before we do, Alex, we need to go off air for mute our mics for just a second and have a little discussion on the Torque Raceware Driver of the Day. So we'll go and do that. We'll leave you with the results and we'll be back in just a couple of seconds' time. And welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us tonight. It was kind of an easy one, wasn't it, tonight, Alex? We really were spoilt for choice with some amazing drives, but our Torque Raceware driver of the day goes to a man who just had a stunning performance, making up 13 places. We'll bring him in right now because he's in the waiting room. A very good evening to Scott Smith. Congratulations, you are our Torque Raceware driver of the day, buddy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right, we use the word spirited quite a lot, but before Alex gets his claws into you and does the post-race interview, buddy, what was that like for you?
Yeah, pretty difficult, mate. I hate this track. It's one of my worst tracks ever. So I was going to miss qualifying. I was late into the session. I only got in at 8 o'clock. So logged straight in and loaded the wrong qualifying session setup, so totally mucked that up. So I started P30 and I thought, right, what will be, I'll just build on it from here, elbows out and head down, and I went for it.
On you go, Alex. Yep, it's all yours.
Yeah, well, Scott, I mean, that was a really good tactical run. I think you were running as high as P11 at one point, but how does, in terms of, obviously, you're saying you don't like the track here at Silverstone, completely understand that. It's not easy for everybody. But in terms of the difference of how the BMWs were performing back at Spa a couple of weeks ago, how much has changed here at Silverstone?
The BMW has been changed significantly. I can't even say the word, but it's night and day. Totally different. The tyres don't drop off, like dropping off a cliff the way they did after 15 minutes in the session. So that was a bonus. So it was just doing a bit of testing over the past kind of week. I then realised that I'm easily managing to get 45 minutes out of the tyres before they start dropping off. So I knew I was just going to need to take it really steady at the end. So I fueled light for that as well and nearly caught myself out and ran out of fuel crossing the line.
Well, congratulations, Scott. Well done. Fantastic drive. Look forward to seeing you next time out.
Yeah, thank you very much, and well done to the race winner, Lewis and Jack. I'm sure they had a good ding-dong, and I was sorry to hear about Fraser, because obviously I was hearing his name always, so it sounded like it was a good race at the front, guys, so well done.
Excellent, good stuff. Thank you very much, Scott Smith there, your Torque Raceware driver of the day. Alex, it's over to you then, buddy, for the post-race interviews. Who would you like to speak to next? We have got Andrew Hopley, Jack Eyre and Michael Weddle.
Well, let's speak to our top place BMW from Andrew Hopley in the number 25. Let's have a quick chat with him, shall we?
You see, that's what happens when you just drag them in. He's mid-sentence to his friends and we just steal him. Sorry, Andrew, but it's time for your interview, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
I was just about to say, have you got that virtual saucepan on standby just to crest David's forehead with it?
I was just about to say to the other guys, I can't stand that David Christie guy, you know.
And without further ado, thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye-bye.
That's what this is all about. It's just these... but Andrew, we were just speaking to Scott and he said that the BMW M4 is just a completely different animal. And you finished P5, you were running in the top 3 at some points as well. A lot better for you as well. I mean, you've been... hand on heart, one of the top running BMWs alongside Kieran as well. Just tell us about the race from your perspective.
I just wanted to look after the rears, really. I was finding during practice, if you lighten the rears up coming out the last corner, it really sort of puts the temperature into the rears. So, yeah, the focus went away from the front tyres and went to the back tyres for this one. And I think I did all right. I had Jordan and Ronald to deal with. Jordan dived into the pits. I tried to cover him off on the next lap. And when we came out, he was 20 seconds behind. I thought, he's taking tyres. And then 5-6 laps later, Ronald comes out with side by side. And I just overdrove the car trying to stay in front of him. But not to be.
You mentioned about overdriving there. I would imagine that anyone that has remained in the BMW, like yourself, Kieran, Scott, Mark as well, that you're overdriving the cars left thanks to the update that has occurred in terms of the BOP between the Porsche and the BMW. Do you think it's a more well-rounded package as you guys now head to Road Atlanta in a couple of weeks?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's a totally different car in terms of the front tyres now. I think, there's still a difference in the two cars. I think the Porsche still has an advantage in the corners, particularly later on. But or maybe it's on the brakes, but the BMW's got fantastic drive out the corners. So for the most part, what they were gaining on, what Jordan was gaining on me in the first half of the race, I was gaining it back down the straights, and it was really good through Beckett's. So yeah, it was just later on in the race, really. I think there's a bit of a difference, but yeah, much improved, and I think it is where it should be.
Well done on 5th place here at Silverstone, Andrew. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at Road Atlanta.
Cheers, guys.
So, there we go. Let us see who we've got next. We have got Fraser Williamson in here. We've got Michael Weddle and Jack Hare.
Let's find out what's happened to Fraser. Let's have a chat with Fraser himself. Just, I want to find out what happened after the last lap incident. Fraser, such a great battle between yourself and Lewis, and a great move by him, obviously, when you ran wide at Stowe with a couple of moments to go. But what happened on the last lap? Because we saw that you had a couple of moments.
Starting the second to last lap, I, in my infinite wisdom, after seeing him get a slowdown in the exit of the final corner, went, all right, I've got a 1.5 second, 2 second lead. I'll grab myself a glass of water. I've been after one all race. Put it down, thought I spilt it, looked down on the straight. We're all right, but I drifted wide and got a one and a bit second slowdown, so he's right back my bumper. And then I cut the last bit of Maggots Beckett's and never noticed the 3 second slowdown until it gave me the black flag for cutting the course.
Right, okay, so that gives us a bit more of an understanding. But just looking back at that battle between you and Lewis, pretty much all the way through the race, you were the first one to pit. He then pitted, I think it was with about just over 20 minutes remaining. This single 60 was a bit of a game changer for the championship in some respects, wouldn't you agree? Because you came in leading by about 20 points.
Oh yeah, it's definitely changed that, but it's just a completely different thing. You've now got to worry about the car surviving the 60 minutes on its tyres, because that's the longest I've driven this car and this tyre model, and it's interesting to say the least. But with more preparation, proper preparation for the next 60, I should be alright instead of just rocking up and hoping for the best.
Well, at least you got quite a few weeks before our season finale at Bathurst for the single 60 there. But obviously, still a 3rd place, still keeps you pretty much at the top of the standings by my reckonings, Fraser. All the very best of luck for the double 30 at Road Atlanta in a couple of weeks.
I'll be down. I finished off the top because I've got a post-race penalty. Yeah, I'll be.
Yeah, we saw that Fraser on the official results, but we weren't sure, obviously, the reason behind that. So obviously, if you've got a black flag on that final lap, then is that you been? Is that just a penalty? Lap. Yeah.
So I'll be 20th.
That would tie up here. So that's a monumental blow for your championship. That must be so frustrating as well for yourself.
Yeah, that's the annoying bit, is that I let it get the black flag because I never noticed it, but it's happened. So oh well.
Well, best luck for the recovery drive for the rest of the season, Fraser. Keep it in strong, buddy, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time out.
Cheers, guys.
Wow, okay. Right. I want to have a quick chat with Michael Weddle. In fact, shall we bring Michael and Jack in at the same time?
Go for it, mate.
Yeah.
It's your show, not mine. I'm just hired help.
Right, let's bring in Michael and Jack. Guys, congratulations on surviving the race. First off, we'll have a quick chat with Michael. Yeah, that was a wild race. You were in some heavy battles, but in the end, a great what looks like P8 finish, but might be a P7 finish.
it was good fun actually. Passing Adam at the end was the icing on the cake. We were teammates, so him taking me out at the end was pretty funny. I did enjoy that because he was mad.
I must admit, Michael, you should have heard what I said, and I said, well, hopefully, it seems like a nuclear missile has been thrown in their general direction on the stream. And I thought, of all the things to happen, I was just like thinking, please don't let it turn ugly. And then I remembered what happened between Vic and Rory after race 1 at Okayama, and they ended up going to the first corner, and both their Porsches were pretty much second hand.
Yeah.
It's all good fun. No, I was just laughing as I crossed the line. He wasn't too happy.
How did you find the 60 minutes strategy wise? Was it easy enough to deal with, or were you a little bit out of your comfort zone?
No, I just think I need to try and go back to school and learn some maths because I overfueled the car by about 8 litres at the end. So I need to learn my maths again to make sure I get the strategy right, I think. But apart from that, it was pretty good fun.
Excellent, good stuff. Thank you very much, Michael. Jack, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Alex here.
Well, a good strong performance in the latter stages there, Jack, and obviously with Fraser's misfortune, you profited quite significantly. But it was, I think Fraser was very much in case in point saying that you needed to look after the car over the course of the 60 minutes. What was your strategy coming into this race, first of all?
Well, I didn't really do many race runs in terms of practice. So I did a bit of a race simulation this morning just beforehand, and really wasn't happy with my times. The fastest I went in practice, I did an 11.9 yesterday, which was actually faster than my quali lap today in hotter weather. It was yesterday as well, and the race pace was about 3 seconds down on that lap. So I was not looking good, but I don't know. I seemed to click with the conditions today, and just took my time. I raced a couple official races when this was on the calendar, just after Spa a couple of weeks ago. So just the experience to try and get it to the finish. The races were 45 minutes instead of an hour. So I had a bit of experience when it came to keeping the car alive in the later stages of the race, but I overfueled as well, like Mikey. Unfortunately, I can't do the calculator straps when I'm in VR. It's quite hard to see where my hands are, to be fair. But no, it was a quiet race, to be fair. I'm trying to work out if I was still in the same race as Mikey, because I think the closest I came to another car was when I lapped a few towards the end there. I had definitely a quieter race than anybody else. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Fraser had the issues that he had, and I'll take second place. I'm happy with it. I would have had a podium anyway, hopefully, but I'm sure he'll bounce back from this 100%, and I'm happy with today, definitely. So onwards and upwards.
Obviously, yeah, indeed, and onwards and upwards to Road Atlanta in just a couple of weeks' time for another double 30. Is that a track that you're looking forward to competing at?
The only experience I have at Road Atlanta is when our team signed up to do Petit Le Mans, but the significant difference in the terms in pace wise, because we were in the GTE cars, so we're talking twice the power, twice the downforce. So I think it's a track I will enjoy, definitely, but it's going to be a learning curve because it's been about 18 months since I turned a lap there, so we'll see how it goes. But plenty of time to get some practice in.
Definitely agree with you there, Jack Eyre. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your second place finish here at Silverstone.
Cheers, guys.
So there we go. Another night is in the books, and what an absolute stormer of a race that we had there. It was brilliant stuff there. Lewis Ward taking the win from Jack Eyre, and I never saw that end coming at all. Did you?
What I didn't see was Fraser Williamson's black flag. That's really changed things.
Well, let's have a look
really
at that.
Has.
So I'll bring up the official results from the race here, and it does state that. In fact, let me just hide that, and we'll bring up the results here. Yeah, so you see there that he's listed down in 12th place. So that is a heavy penalty, unless he's had to pit on the final lap.
Well, I'm just going to have a look at the points now, because let's just have a look at this from a provisional standing. So Jack Eyre was 20 points behind Fraser coming into this round. So we have a look on the leaderboard, which was after round 2 at Spa-Francorchamps. So effectively, Lewis Ward goes on to 154 points. You then look at Jacquet. You're not going to believe this, David. That ties him on points.
Really?
With Lewis Ward. Lewis Ward, he gets 70 for that.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 plus 7 is 15. So 154. Jacquet gets 60 points.
Unbelievable.
And then Fraser Williamson loses the championship lead. And when I tell you that he is now on, effectively 12th place gives you 28 points.
Incredible stuff.
If my maths, I'm trying to remember who was third on this. I'm trying to remember who was
Sam
third.
Corson was third. Oh, in the actual race, sorry.
In the actual race.
In the actual race, it was, I will just tell you in just a second, we'll swap back over. It was Ronald Grossman.
And Ronald was 12th. So he goes up to 112 points. So effectively, after 3 rounds, I think we provision now Sam Corson, P6, that's 40 points. That puts him on 130. That is a tie. That is a tie for the lead, provisionally speaking, between Jacquet and Lewis Ward after the round 3 single 60 here at Silverstone. That's the breaking news we have to tell everybody, and they're 14 points ahead, or the 12 points ahead of Fraser Williamson, provisionally speaking.
Incredible scenes here tonight at the virtual recreation of Silverstone GP. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined us tonight. It has been a wonderful evening. We have been your commentary team and we have loved every single minute of it. We have been David Christie and Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We will be back in 2 weeks' time at Road Atlanta for round 4 of the SMRC eSports iRacing Championship. In the meantime, guys, keep yourself nice and safe and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Take care and good night.